Hello there, World of Tankers, I'm World of Blitz, and welcome to the channel. Hopefully all of you are doing fantastic out there, because in today's video, we're going to be talking about a vehicle that has never seen an appearance in my Blitz videos, the T110e5. This, of course, is the Tier 10 American heavy tank, and the reason I never really wanted to feature this vehicle is because it never really attracted me. There was nothing super fun about it. It doesn't have the most mobility, it doesn't have the best gun, it doesn't have the most damage per minute, and it doesn't do the most damage per shot. It also doesn't have the most armor. So it was just kind of this good, not the best, but not the worst tier 10 heavy tank. But Wargaming has buffed this tank a lot of times. They've given it sandbag armor, they've given it a better DPM, they've taken off the cupola. So over the years, this tank has morphed into a very solid tier 10 heavy. In fact, one of the best tier 10 heavy tanks to use in tournament currently. So I figured, you know what, in today's video, I'm going to pull it out, we're going to try it into the live gameplay and see how the vehicle does play. So first of all, what is good about the E5 and what is bad? Well, the E5 carries a very, very solid gun. It deals good damage per minute, I think around 2500 DPM, but the main thing that's really solid about it is the heat penetration. It's sitting at 374 millimeters, which means that pretty much all of the tanks you're aiming at are easily going to get shot through. But you'll notice I don't really carry a lot of heat on this vehicle, only 8 rounds, so I usually don't fire that much premium because the gun's actually pretty nice in general. You can see that the on-movement dispersion is pretty dang good, again, especially for a tier 10 heavy tank. Now, it's nothing like, you know, the FE205B, but it still is a pretty accurate gun. Mobility isn't too bad either. You can see that it's able to get up the hill pretty quickly, actually, at 28 kilometers per hour, but that's not spectacular, judging that the 57 heavy, as we all know, is also not a super fast heavy tank, and it's outstripping me on acceleration. So that's one of the issues, is that it's not a super fast heavy tank. You're never really gonna, you know, fly into position, but it is quick enough to get there in one piece. So here we go, finally in position here. Now, one of the best things about the E5 is the turret armor. After Wargaming did buff it, it is a super solid turret. Now, that has shell just completely hit our vehicle, still took off about 600 hit points, which is quite sad, because if I were to do that in 183, there's no way ever that shot would hit. But we got that T62A, we also got the IS-4 in the back. We're just going to load a premium shell, pen you right through the frontal armor. We also got that Object 140 shooting me, but I don't think it was worth it for that 140, judging how little hit points that guy is currently sitting on. So we got the 183, another nice tap on him. Did not mean to shoot a heat shell there, but you know what? A penetration's a penetration, as I always say, and that was definitely a penetration at that. So we got the IS-4 once again. We also got that 62A sitting there. Nice little penetration right through that T62A's turret. As I said, the heat on this gun just completely butters through pretty much any armor profiles you are aiming at. We even got like an IS-4 here. The only thing I'm really worried about currently is the FE205B 183. I don't really know when he's going to pop out, which, there we go, the 183 has been spotted, because, as we all know, 183s are not necessarily the nicest tanks to play with. So we got the Sheridan, who is, not really sure what the Sheridan is doing, to be honest, but you know what, that's fine with me, because we're just going to shoot him, and he's going to die. So, nice job from the Object 140 there, nice little bounce as well in the side of our vehicle. We got the IS-7, let's get a nice little tap. Ooh, let's see if we can, there we go, nice tap right in the lower plate, and you can start to see why the E5 is a super solid tier 10 heavy now. It's just doing the job. It does it very quickly. You know, it's got good gun depression here, 8 degrees, able to bounce another shell there. If you're using your 8 degrees of gun depression, this vehicle becomes one of the toughest tanks to fight hull down in the game. So, can't really deal with that 62A, but you know what, this one here, I'm going to get a nice little tap into him, bounce the shell once again, and now the 62A is missing half his health already. And yeah, if this 62A wants to play with us, he's going to lose a lot more health, getting a nice little high roll and finishing him off. So this game here was a pretty fantastic one at that. 183 even kind of whiffing the shell there, bouncing it on my track wheel again. Man, this tank's tracks really just ate up a lot of shells in this battle. But here we go, let's get a nice little tap right into that FE205B 183, and that was about 4,700 damage in the first battle. Now, I can say the enemy team was not spectacular, but you can definitely see that when working a gun depression position, the E5 is a total beast. And that's, of course, because the turret is so freaking strong. Like, you can't penetrate this turret very easily, should I say, when you're in an 8 degrees of gun depression position. Your hull is pretty much going to auto-ricochet any shells coming at it, and while the turret does have weak spots, like you can penetrate the cheeks, if you're sitting still, which I wouldn't suggest you do when running an E5, yeah, people can overmatch your cheeks with most premium rounds in the game. It is very tricky. In fact, I'd say only about 50% of the times the shells go through, even with a skilled player doing it, and that's also the same thing for the Q cupola. While it is a big weak spot, it's a really troll one at that, because if you ever aim at it, you'll notice, first of all, it's not always completely grayed out. It's kind of like half hazy red, and because of that, when you shoot it, you have to hit perfectly on the center, or it'll just ricochet right off. The E5 really is a troll vehicle when aiming at the turret, and that's also the same for the hull armor. You think, oh, I'm going to shoot the hull, but since it's got that boat-shaped curved armor, it occasionally does get a lot of bounces through the track wheels, it gets a lot of bounces on the side. It is a very troll tank to penetrate. The only reason I personally don't like the E5 that much is just because I don't find the armor that reliable in a really tricky scenario. Like, if you're going up against, let's say, I don't know, an IS-7 or an IS-4. An IS-4 is most likely going to be bouncing a lot more shells than my E5, and they have very similar damage per minute. So the IS-4 is usually just going to win most of the scenarios, I feel, against a vehicle like this when you're in a really tough and nitty-gritty position. But at the same time, the IS-4, of course, does not have 8 degrees of gun depression, so it is very back and forth, in my opinion. But I actually think the E5 currently is one of the strongest tier 10 heavies in the game just because it's a very solid vehicle. So let's just push up here and let's see what's going to happen. Of course, I'm going to be pushing this in a gun depression position, something I would always suggest you do in a T110e5 vehicle. If you don't, yeah, you're definitely running the tank incorrectly. So we got the STB1 on the other side here, and I have a choice. I can either pull out here, which I'm probably going to do. I'm a very aggressive player, as we know, so I'm probably going to try and pull out and maybe get a shot into that STB1. We also got a vehicle like this T92E1 here, the Vickers CR, who I can't really get a shot into, but this STB, not really sure what that guy's doing. Like, yeah, I guess you'll penetrate me, but is it worth it to take a trade when I do more damage than you? So here, this is the issue with the E5 I have, is that this track wheel is probably going to be overmatched in a scenario like this. So I'm just going to angle out the hull. I don't know what this Vickers CR is really doing because, yeah, he's in a pretty tough predicament. Let's see if we can get a shot. There you go. Nice little snap right across the map into the enemy E5. Now we got the Jagdpanzer over here. A lot of tough tanks that I don't necessarily want aiming at me are. There we go. The Jagdpanzer penning right through my frontal armor as well. No clue where that shot actually went. Maybe in the lower plate. I actually have no clue whatsoever. But we're going to plop on our adrenaline here, see if we can start penning more shells into this Jagdpanzer. If I back up, I should be pretty impervious to his shots. Again, I can get penned through the turret, but I'm just going to back forwards and backwards. There you go. So you can see, as I said, the armor works well on this vehicle as long as you don't sit there like a sitting duck. So let's see, can we get another shot? Yes, another nice tap right into that Jagdpanzer's frontal plate. As you can see, while that Jag did hurt me, I've got a lot more HP than he does now, and it definitely was not worth it for him in the long run. So nice little tap right into this STB1. There we go. Nice ricochet as well on the frontal armor. If we give him a nice little love tap, he's probably going to fall apart, or that'll work too. I can't complain either way. So while this game was a pretty tough battle, and, you know, it still is a very tough battle, it's not a defined win, you can definitely see that we're doing a pretty solid job. Hopefully this Jag just gets whiffed right out of the game. There we go. Nice shot from my teammate. So most likely the enemy team's going to be pushing over to this side. They've got a Mark 6, an E5, and a VK45. So I'm going to push over here. Again, you can see top speed really isn't super fast. You'd expect me to go quicker down that hill, but here we go. So we got the enemy E5. I doubt he's going to fire that shot. Let's see, though, if we can get a nice little cheeky shot. There you go. That is the type of shot I was trying to talk about with the track wheel, though. Very, very weak track wheels indeed. Like, that really easily just overmatched right through the track. We got this VK45 off to the side, and oof, that shell really did not want to penetrate there. But you know what? We're just going to push up here. I'm not super worried currently. We're actually pretty healthy on hit points compared to the enemy team, so let's just tap a heat shell right over matching the upper plate. Again, the heat on this vehicle is super deadly at that. This enemy E5 just pulled right out in the open, but here we go. Let's get another overmatching shot right through the track wheel. As I said again, that track wheel is just super weak, and it's the biggest issue I find with the E5 is that, like, this guy just fell apart completely when you know how to take out the vehicle. But again, we did a good job. This was a very solid game at that, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get the last kill here. I doubt it, but, oh, you know what? We might just get it out. I doubt it. Come on. No. Okay, so as you can see, the E5 did a good job for both of the battles I played in it. It did 4,000 for both of the games, and that's how the E5 is supposed to be played. If you can get it in a good hull-down position, it's a super solid vehicle. In flat ground, you saw I easily penned through the enemy E5 every shot, right through the track wheels. It's the easiest way to take it out. And if you don't do that, I would definitely suggest you start shooting it through the track wheel because, yeah, you can see an E5 on flat ground is just a sitting duck. And that's why I personally never liked it. But if you played in a hull-down position like you saw me doing when that Jagdpanzer shot the second shell into me, that Jag had no chance to get through my turret because it's just such a solid turret. He didn't load premium, so it was about a 50-50 if he was going to go through the cheeks, but since I was angled up, a bunch of other stuff, it ricocheted right off of the turret. So that is why I love the E5. It's just a super strong tier 10 vehicle, and I used to really not like it, but I'm actually really growing quite a bit on it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I'm not going to say go run down and grind this vehicle, because the reason for that is, why get an E5 when you can get an IS4? It is a solid tier 10, and if you have it, I definitely would suggest to try it maybe out again, but the issue is, first of all, the E5, while it is solid, as I said, the IS4 is better in my opinion in pretty much every single aspect. That's also the same for like an E100. It's a much more exciting vehicle to play. The E5 just kind of gets boring after a couple battles. Not only that, but grinding up the E5 line, it's good when you're at the T29, but when you get to the T32, yeah, not necessarily the most fun grind, and having a stock M103 also is not a very fun grind. So I will say the E5, while it is a good line to go for, I'm not going to actually say go completely for it unless you really want one of these American tier 10 heavies in your garage. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. But other than that, hope you're all doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.